Hello everyone, so today's video is going to be all about zones. If you have any previous Forex experience, you may have heard the term zones used before. They are also referred to as support and resistance. Either way, they are the same things. I am going to be showing you how to identify those zones, how to draw those zones, and trade based off of those zones today. That's going to be your starting point for getting in the habit of being able to eyeball price action and trade specifically based off of price action. If you are a complete beginner, this is something that you definitely want to learn right off the bat, just because it's going to make your life easier. Trust me when I say that. So let's go ahead and start. So to begin with, you're going to want to have a chart pulled up, of course. In this particular case, I have the GBP AUD chart pulled up. Once you have your chart completely pulled up, the first thing you want to do is pull up the desired time frame. Now, myself personally, I like to draw my zones based off of the daily chart. Sometimes I will draw them based off of the 4-hour chart or the weekly chart. Daily chart is my kind of go-to, but you can use either one of these three here. Keep in mind that the higher the time frame, the better it is for identifying zones, only because you'll see a larger, amount of time within those particular time frames. So we're starting off with the daily chart. The first thing that we're going to do is go to this little tool here. This is the Draw Horizontal Line tool. We're going to go ahead and select that. Now, once you have that selected, what you want to do is kind of start at the top of the chart. And you're going to go ahead and click down. You're going to keep it held down, but you'll see a line pop up. As you can see, the red line. You can move it up or down. So what we're looking for here is we're going to move our line down until we see prices, or until we see points on the chart where price has repeated itself or repeatedly touched on the chart. And so we're going to start off with this example. I'll show you what I mean. So we're just going to drag it down until we find a point that looks like price has repeatedly touched on the chart. So let's see. Keep going. Right about here looks like a really great point. Now, to point out what I was meaning when I say where price is repeatedly touched, basically like right here, it's touched. It's went over a little bit, but this is the point where it's touched here. Same thing here, it went over, but it's still on that zone. And then you can see this is November and December of 2017 where we see those touches. We come down more recently and we see that there's touches February 1st, 2018. It went over and came back down. First week of February, again, the middle of February, same thing here all through February, March, and then we had a breakthrough here. So you can see that this is a really great zone. When you see this many touches in price, the price is touched this many different times on this one particular zone and several different, times in either previous times or past times, that's a really good indication that this is a great zone for you to have marked off on your chart. Now, let me take my just scroll thing off here. If we go back even further, I am willing to bet that we'll see even more touches previously. So let's just kind of scroll backwards. And let's see here. Yep. So again, right here, September 2016, we see we have some touches here. July 2016, another touch, and then we have an actual breakthrough into a downtrend here during July of 2016. So, like I said, the more touches, the better. Especially if you can, scroll back in time and see that it's been at the same price point several different times. It's just extra confirmation that this is a really good zone for you to have. So this is a great one. It'll serve as a way for you to mark off support and resistance or zones on your chart and trade based off of that price point. Let's see if we can find another one so I can give you guys a good example. So we'll get our draw horizontal tool again here. And we don't necessarily need to start from the top since we've already kind of marked one off here. I usually like to start off again wherever I leave off. So we'll start off right here. Let's see. Looks a good one right about here. Okay, so what I'm looking for on this one, the reason why I stopped here, I do see several touches right here. That was in February. January, we've got a breakthrough here in December of 2017. Couple more touches in December. Let's go back and see if we can find some more. Like I said, if we can go back in time and find more touches, that just kind of serves as, let me take my scroll tool off, that just kind of serves as extra confirmation that this is a really good zone to have. Yep, so we see more touches here. May 2017, a couple touches there. Same thing here, September 2016. Again, just like the first zone that we marked off, these are all really good indications that this is a really great price point to have on your zone. Okay, let's see. Okay, so let's just go back. So what you want to do when you are getting started off is you want to spend probably, I'd say, anywhere between 3 to 4 days, or probably just spend an entire week getting in the habit of just pulling up different charts on the daily time frame and marking off those zones. The more you do it, the better. And it might seem repetitive and it might seem redundant while you're doing it, but I'm telling you, repeating that and constantly doing it, it's going to get you in the habit, like I said, of being able to identify those zones without actually marking off these lines eventually. And so what will happen is you'll be able to, pull up a chart so that you can trade it, and you'll be able to eyeball and say, hey, I see where these are. This is a major zone here. And so I know that these are going to be major price points. So I'm going to look for price to either, come back down. If it's in an uptrend, eventually come back down and touch it. Or if it's in a downtrend, eventually come back up and touch these price points. So those are the ways that you can identify those zones. You can also use them as a really great reference tool when you're trading. So for instance, let's say you were in the market around this time here and you were looking for a trading opportunity. This is in between two major zones, and just a little note, usually when it's in between two major zones like that, for the most part, you'll see the market just go sideways, which is exactly what it did here. So same thing right here. It just kind of went sideways, even though you'll see it go up and above the zone and, maybe even break above and come back down. For the most part, you want to look for certain confirmations before you get into those trades. Otherwise, it's just going to be going sideways, and it's going to be a little bit more difficult. Not to say that you can't trade those. It'll just be a little bit more difficult to take any type of profit when it's inside those zones, because it's more than likely going to move sideways. So the confirmation that you're going to look for is, if you were in the market here, for instance, you're going to wait until price either breaks above this zone and closes above that zone to get into a buy, or you're going to look for price to break below this zone and close below the zone before you get into a sell. So for instance, you wouldn't have gotten in here because it was still in the habit of moving sideways. Even right here, you see this breakout. This would not have been necessarily a good point to get in because it didn't close above this zone. And you see it came right back down. Usually what I do is I wait for, like, this candle closed above the zone. You could have gotten in here. I usually like to wait for, some people will get in after that first candle closes above the zone, which is fine. But you want to wait for, I like to wait for this second candle to close. That's kind of like extra confirmation. Or you can get in about the halfway point of that candle, and take it up, but you want to definitely have your stop loss set pretty closely just to make sure you don't take any losses. So in my opinion, the best way to do it is to wait until, for one, that first candle closes above the zone here, and then the second candle closes. Once that second candle closes, and you can see this is a pretty, significant bullish candle, it would have been a great way to get in and on a buy and come up off some pips. So we can see even if you would have gotten in when this second candle closed, you're looking at it, opportunity of 400 plus pips. I usually, even if you're a beginner, you want to focus on starting with just obtaining and securing those 10, 15, 20 pips. So that would have been an easy way to get, those few pips and just kind of get out. But if you're a little bit more than a conservative trader, then you probably would have gotten, I don't know, maybe 50 to 100 pips or more out of this, this up move right here. So that's a good way to be able to use these zones, especially if you are, looking at it before the market opens. That's usually when I like to do it on a Sunday evenings, right before the market opens for the week. I'll pull up, whatever charts I plan on trading for the week just to mark off those zones. A lot of my zones I usually leave up, and then I'll, adjust them as needed based off of whatever happened that previous week. But those are really good ways to do your analysis ahead of time before the week gets started. Or even if you want to do it on a daily basis, you can do that too. Some people may not have time on Sundays to do that, which is perfectly fine. Any day you choose to pull up a chart and practice your zones is good. There is no allotted time or day for you to do it, just as long as you get in the habit of doing it. So if you don't have any previous Forex experience, I definitely recommend you do this for at least a week just to get in the habit of marking down those zones and identifying price action. This will make it to where, like I said, you can eyeball it, and it'll make it to where it'll be easier for you to identify where and when trade opportunities present themselves. It'll also make it easier to identify when and where you should not get into trade opportunities. Okay, so that is how you do zones. If you need any further instructions or questions about how to draw your zones, please feel free to reach out to me via email or telephone. That is pretty much all we have for today. And like I said, this works on every chart as long as you do it in a higher time frame, either the 4-hour, the daily chart, or the weekly chart. Do this for a week, and once you get that down, we will go ahead and review where you are just to make sure that you completely understand these zones, and just to make sure that you understand how to apply this to your daily trading strategy. Okay. Thanks for watching, and talk to you next time.